Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Unfiltered Vet Discussions. It's hard to believe that this recording will be aired towards the beginning of November, end of October-ish, which means we're using the word October and November and December in our conversations. And somehow 2025 is flying right out the door faster than we can blink. And with that being said, don't move too far away without liking, following us on all the social media platforms. We know you're on them, so just hit that little button, as well as follow us on all the podcast platforms as well. So you get to hear and see our smiling faces once a week. We'd love for you to join us. And we'd also love for you to hear us on we'd also love to hear from you on comments. So, with that being said, we were musing, as we normally do, and thinking about the end of year and what that all means. And we decided to talk about what does it mean to take care of ourselves first, not second, not third, not fourth, first, during the end of the year or just in general. Like, do we forget to put ourselves down on the calendar for a vacation, for example? And make sure our teams are all good. So, what does that look like? So, I'm going to throw that out to the crew because for every person, that's different. It's not the same. That's a personal choice. So, what do you guys have?
I can start.
Okay.
So for me, I really love traveling. And that's what we were sort of talking about a little bit because I just came back from a trip to Canada, where we took the Rocky Mountaineer from
Mm.
Vancouver over into Banff National Park and then hiked some mountains, drank some tea on the top of a mountain, did a boat ride on some really beautiful blue lakes that were like the color of your walls, Kelly, which was like amazing. And it was just a really beautiful, awesome trip in the Canadian wilderness that really, that type of stuff fills my cup up. And I know I've had this conversation with Phil before, and I think we've even in this podcast talked before about how travel is really one of the ways that I'm able to unplug because I'm a very intense and driven person. And when I'm here and I'm working, like I feel morally obligated to be available to my team. So I'm just always on. So like I work from home a ton. I put in a lot of hours in the evenings and on the weekends. Plus I'm still on the floor and I lead my practice. So I put in a lot of hours by choice. But I found that if I don't regularly go away, I start to get just sort of run
Easy.
down. I don't want to use the
Yeah.
term burnout because it's not like quite where I get to, but I just am not able to be my like bubbly, happy, positive leader self when I have like burnt my candle too low. And by being able to go away, physically leave and really unplug, like those are the times that fill me up and then I'm able to come back and like be a better leader and be on for my team again and feel really good. And I just also think as a tangent, traveling makes you a better person because you get to see different cultures and the way people live that's different from us and that different is not always bad and that I think that part of travel also just makes you open your eyes more and then be able to be an even better person and better leader. One of my favorite quotes is it's hard to hate people up close. So being able to go travel and meet different people and see different cultures, I also think just makes you in general a better person. I know those are almost like two different topics, but I wanted to touch on both of them because I think that's part of why travel is like so important to me. So that's mine, which I could ramble on about for like a solid 45 minutes all on my own, but I'll let someone else say something.
No, I mean I love that. And so what I would like to comment on is just, from a well-being perspective, like the things that Beth talked about is, one, when we talk about induction of positive emotion, which we really need to do intentionally. Like we really do have to put that on our schedule, if you will, to be intentional about experiencing positive emotion. Because the negative or the challenging emotions, the negativity bias, we all have it. And so it's very easy for us at the end of the day to go, oh, hey, how was your day? Oh, this client was this, and this went wrong, and this was bad, and this was bad. And what I love that Beth shared, were a couple things. And one is it's a connection with nature. I know a lot of the places Beth goes, like when she posts these, gorgeous pictures of these landscapes and, and bodies of water and things like that. And that actually, as far as induction of positive emotion, is one of the single most powerful things that we can do, is connecting with nature. But the other thing that I really liked was when said, not being able to hate somebody up close, and just that broadening of feeling like we're part of something larger than ourselves, and connecting with the world around us. And it's like that's another induction of awe, in this concept of spirituality, and not necessarily saying anything religious, although it could be. But so it's just cool from a well-being perspective, hearing the things that Beth does intentionally, and knowing, like, books, what we read in the books, like why that's so powerful. So I just wanted to sit, like, it's just really cool sitting back and hearing you do those things in vivo, that we read about, in the well-being journals and such. So Peter.
I'd like to see somebody do it in a test tube. But that's um, if we're looking at taking care of number one, there's all sorts of different ways that we can do it. I do enjoy traveling as well, and what's interesting, I try to add time usually before and or after some of my speaking engagements to get there early and get a feel for the lay of the land. Now, of course, traveling completely across the continent to speak, I also travel a day early so I can acclimate to the freaking time zone difference, because otherwise I'm getting up at 4 in the morning to speak. But I was in Pittsford, which is a suburb of Rochester, this past weekend. Really cute town, 250 years old. I walked across the Erie Canal because there's a bridge across the Erie Canal. I mean, I went to school in New York and I never went to Rochester, never been to the Niagara Falls, which was half an hour from where I was, and I didn't get there this time either. But it's really taking a look at balancing all of the different things and finding time for yourself, because we don't always do that. We get so embedded in whatever we're doing, and I'm the worst to even talk about it from that standpoint, because as my wife thinks, I work 24/7, 365. But, Sunday afternoon when I got home, I spent 3 hours watching baseball because I just didn't want to do anything after being on plane flights for 6 hours. And, I go to the gym, and I know Phil does as well. Going to the gym to me is taking care of number one and making sure that I get that time for it. Nutrition is taking care of number one, trying to eat healthy. Even though they bring you to a steakhouse, it doesn't mean you have to have a fillet. I know Phil needs 4 fillets because of his protein intake. I'll have tofu. So it's really looking after you, because if you, as we were talking about in the pre-talk, and is if you don't put your mask on first when the oxygen mask comes down in the plane, you may not be able to put the oxygen mask on the people sitting around you who may need it as well. And whether you're in a practice setting such as Beth's or a life setting such as Phil's, and Kelly's, you really do need to take care of yourself, because you have people who look to you for help, family members, friends, colleagues, people you work with, etc. So taking care of number one allows you some air to take care of everybody else around you. And if you don't do that, I mean, I had a friend of mine, two friends actually, one who was visiting the mountain gorillas in Rwanda, had a heart attack and died, veterinarian. The good news, he had already sold his practice and he had set his family up for success. Story number two, guy went in for lunch, laid down, took a nap in his office, didn't wake up. How do you prepare for those things? Did they take care of themselves? Was either of those situations something that they could have done a better job of taking care of themselves? Or how did they leave everybody else when you get into those types of situations? So making sure you take care of number one, boy, this is going to sound bad. Make sure you take care of number one so you can take care of number two.
You're right. That is a thing right there, Peter. But we would expect nothing less from you. I would also add, because you guys we're all talking about big stuff like taking a trip or like carving out time and everything. But also there's micro moments in the day. So, like for example, it's freaking hot still in Minnesota, highly unusual. But I go and sit out in the sun for 15 minutes and just put my phone down. And I'm like, everybody can wait 15 minutes because if I don't take those 15 minutes, nobody else is going to take it for me. Probably like all of you, your phone's blowing up, people need you, things are interesting and bright and shiny rabbit holes are calling to go diving down on your day. But the only person who can make you stop and take care of yourself is you. Nobody else is going to make it happen for you. Beth, nobody planned that trip except you and probably your husband. But you had to tell the team, I'm gone this week. I'm out, right? You had to put the pause button on it and make it happen.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting. One of the real great, in person lessons that I learned in clinic was, for a number of years, we changed the schedule. Like our team wasn't, we noticed our team wasn't getting lunches, and we blocked our 11:30 appointment slot off, which is, potentially sacrosanct for, revenue generation and that type of thing. I'm like, well, we'll find a way to make it up. But what we were finding is that, our 11:30, folks would come in and they'd get there at 11:45 or 11:50, and then, it would mess up everybody's lunches. And it was like, all right, well, there's probably a better way to do this. So we we're very intentional about trying to make sure that the team, always had their lunches. And then when we did that, I realized we were so efficient. Like I was able to go to the gym over lunch, and we have a block of, from 12 to 2. And so I was pretty much like, unless there was an emergency, which, happened a decent amount, um, I could get out of the clinic at 12:30 and be back by 1:45 and have worked out. And it reset my brain. And it was very much like I just worked 2 half days. And it was just and I was really deep into learning about positive psychology and well-being and that kind of thing. I was like, wow, like this really is working. And I was much more effective during those 2 blocks, where I used to think, oh, I have to be the martyr, and stay. And I really saw that, when we looked when we looked at the numbers, I was just much more productive when I got to the gym. And so, yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that I was like, oh, I don't, even in my mind, I'm like, I don't know. They don't know what it's like to be a medical professional or what have you. And it's foolishness. So they were right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, didn't you
I,
hear when you were in college that the first 15 minutes you're as equally productive, or you'll remember for studying, as the other 45 minutes in the hour?
Hmm.
And therefore, you should take breaks, even though it feels counterproductive, because then, like you said, Phil, your brain resets. And then you hit it again, and you're in that time frame, you're a lot more on point and can get a lot more done or think more clearly than just, like you said, digging in and being the martyr. It diminishing returns are real.
Hmm.
Yeah.
one of the things I tell owners, Beth, um, is to really calendar your preferred time off for the next 12 to 24 months
Hmm.
so that you get the time off that you want. And as a result, don't have to respond or react to what everybody else is asking. So it's on the calendar, and you get it from that standpoint. So
Mhm.
um, and with respect to Phil, I work out usually at 2 or 3 in the afternoon
Mm,
because after sitting on my booty all day with Brucey in my lap, I need to get up and do something.
yeah.
Then I'll
Yeah.
come back and work for a couple hours after I get back because my head is cleared. I've gotten all of the fecal material that's in my cerebrum out, and I go and work out. And feel much better afterwards. So whatever you need to do, go for a walk, sit at sit out by the lake, the river, the ocean, look at the mountains, just do something to clear your brain. You'll be much more productive and effective.
Especially
And I
during
just want
the
to,
holiday season. I'm just going to add, because when you listen to this, we're heading into the intensity time where even more demands are on your schedule, on yourselves. Regardless of what your belief system is, the whole world kind of goes nuts between November and December. So, yep.
yeah, we learned. So for, geez, probably about a solid 6 or 7 years, I don't know that my wife and I took vacation. Like we go on
Bad,
like a long
Phil.
weekend. I know.
That's bad.
I mean, but I mean, we just piled up all this time, and what we realized was this is that, and I'm curious to know logistically how you do this, Beth, with the trip, like when those get planned out and all that. And that's where we would say, okay, January 1st, we're gonna take all of our vacation time and slap it down and put it on the calendar, because what we found is that there's always something, like, is that if I think, oh, we'll go sometime in the summer, there's always, it's like, oh no, this surgery needs to get done, or
Mm.
this thing comes, that there was always something that we could make an excuse of why we needed to be in the clinic. But if we already did it and we paid, and then we'd pay all the all the fees and everything, because then that way, my wife would agree with that, like, she's cheap. So I mean, she would say it, but so if the money's there, like, she's going to do it. Like, we're not giving up. But that worked for us, and very much to Peter's point, is putting that stuff on the schedule. And I just wonder, Beth, like, with the really cool trips that you do, like, how far out do you and your husband, like, and the family, like, plan for those things? Like, is it once a year? Is it every other year? Or what, how do you do that?
I kind of have a rolling planning of trips going on because I just always, I mean, I literally want to go like everywhere in the world, not exaggerating. I would literally go anywhere. So I have a very long list. So what I usually do is we're working like two to three trips out. So usually about a year to a year and a half is what we're looking at for some of the bigger ones. But then we'll fill in between with like long weekends and stuff, which sometimes those get planned somewhat last minute. Like we usually go away kind of around my birthday. And last year, my sister lives in Austria, Vienna, for work. So usually once a year we try to meet somewhere in Europe and do, like a sort of a short trip. So there's this, I'm going to go off on a tangent really quick. There's this app called Going. So if you like travel, you should have the app called Going because Going allows you to, it like does the work for you to look at cheap flights. So you can either say, I want to go to Vienna, Austria, and it'll tell you what time of year is the best time to book a flight. Or you can say, I want to go away this weekend, and it'll tell you where is the cheapest place to fly. So over my birthday this past year, so this most recent March, like 6 weeks before, I had kind of had this block of time that was open for my birthday, and we like threw together a trip to Madrid in like 6 weeks. So like it depends kind of like what, some of them I like the one we just went on to Canada, I planned over a year ago because it was a big trip that had a lot of moving parts. Like I knew I wanted to like go there. But like sometimes trips like that, which I think some people would not be comfortable doing that because there's like a fear thing of like planning kind of a bigger trip or a trip overseas like so much so last minute. Like we were literally like picking a hotel 4 weeks before and like I was just Googling up like things to do in Madrid like a week before because we had like nothing planned. But I really enjoy that. Like that lights me up, like exploring a new place. So for some people that would not work. But for me, it's kind of both. Like I'm almost always have some kind of iron in the fire of like some crazy trip that I'm trying to talk Tom into. And most times I can talk him into it, and sometimes he's like, "No, we're not doing that." But so it depends. But some of them are last minute. You
The
should.
only
Oh, go ahead.
all I was going to say, my problem with last minute is finding a dog sitter.
Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm. I always book the dogs first.
yeah.
I have three dog sitters just because. I probably have four if I think about it because Um, you want not to have to change trips because you can't find a dog sitter. And I mean, I've got a trip booked for a year from now to
Mhm.
Africa, and we've already got the dog sitter set up because I wanted to make sure that that was going to work. So there are variables that go into this. In other words, as much as I would like to throw Sharon in the car, drive up to LA and spend the weekend in Beverly Hills, um, I need a dog sitter. And then I need to
Yeah.
convince her to get in the car. So, and then she doesn't want to leave the dog. So there's all sorts of variables that go into the conversation. But taking care of number one isn't just about traveling, although I love traveling. And whenever Sharon can come with me to fun locations, she will come along. But I just like getting on an airplane because the freaking phone doesn't ring. And there's not somebody looking for you to solve a problem, especially if you don't go online when you're flying. And so there's a certain level of when I get on an airplane, I fall asleep before the plane leaves the
Yeah.
jet bridge
Mhm.
because it's
Yep.
one of those rare times that nobody can freaking bother you.
Oh,
And if the
Mhm.
person to your left or right sees those earbuds in, they usually don't. And I will close my eyes and pretend to be asleep.
yeah.
As soon as I get an aisle seat, and as soon as the people to my right or left are seated, seatbelt goes on, earbuds go in, even if nothing is on, close the eyes and just leave me an effing alone for the next 5 hours.
Mhm. Yeah, because you can't do anything once your butt hits that seat, is what I figure.
Yep.
You know, I'm with you. I don't, and
Turbulence is
it
kind of
doesn't
like
work
magic
that great
fingers.
anyway.
It kind of
Plane.
gets the bed shaking. I like turbulence.
I'm still hanging in there for the spaceship with anti-gravity. Seriously, I'm right there for that. Because think about the opportunities that open up for you then. You doesn't take 33 hours to go to New Zealand from Minnesota, for example. You could go there much more quickly. Or could we throw the moon and Mars on the list or Saturn? I mean, like the whole opportunity space, literally space opens up, hence the photo behind me because I want to go. Um, just think of the possibilities, and you aren't going to get sick because it's anti-gravity. You won't even know you're taking off. So I'm
Hmm.
just putting that out there on the future wish list of travel. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So, Beth, besides travel, what do you do to decompress between the panic responses and the adrenaline rush that keeps your heart rate and blood pressure high during the day?
Yes. Well, like you guys, I work out every day. I have found that that is really important for my mental health, and I try to take a walk every day with my dogs. So sometimes it's just a short one in the morning with just my one dog. Sometimes I'll take all four with the family in the afternoon, but I try to always walk and I try to always work out. Those are two things that I have found really, really, really help me. Yeah. And I do like log my food and try to hit my protein goals and all that sort of stuff because I have found that also makes me feel better and like be more
Mhm.
productive if I'm eating properly and trying to get enough sleep. During the day, sometimes I'll step outside if I get really overwhelmed and just like walk around the building. My hospital's across the street from a park, so sometimes I'll go take a walk over there or I'll just, take a break in my office for a minute and either listen to some music that I like or, just pet a dog for a couple minutes just in those like short moments between things where I start to feel a little bit overwhelmed. I've also in the past year, I guess almost a year and a half now, I've started doing the like 5 minute journal at night, which is like a gratitude and positivity journal, which I have found that that actually really helps me. Like how you guys mentioned earlier, like at the end of the day, a lot of times you're like, oh, this person was an asshole, or this dog was really difficult, or this employee really frustrated me. And that kind of pivots you because you're supposed to like do it in the morning and say, okay, like what are my three priorities for the day, or what are three things that if they go well will make me feel like today was successful. So it kind of like is intention setting for the day, which I find really helpful because then it helps me prioritize like, okay, what are the three things that I want to accomplish today and make me feel like today was a good day? And then most times I'm able to do it because it helps me like kind of reset my brain of like all the other bull crap that happens isn't that important in the grand scheme of things. And then at night, it asks you to list like what are three things that went really well or that you're grateful for
Mhm.
today. And I have found that, and it really does take 5 minutes. And I have very intentionally, I do that every day. And have found that I think that that makes me a more positive person too, because it's helping you to kind of like reset your brain and train your brain to look for positive things every single day. So even on the
Mhm.
worst of days, I can still dig up at least three things that went well.
You
Mhm.
got a shovel, huh? I try to read a novel or something that is completely obtuse to the rest of the world before bed. Um, just Dan Brown, author of Da Vinci
Mhm.
Mhm.
Code, just came out with a new book, so that'll keep me busy for a while. Because then I spend all night trying to solve the murder mystery before, um, when I go to bed, instead of thinking about what the emails, the texts, the whatever it is that's going on. The fact that I'm waiting for the washer dryer repairman to come today, those types of things. So I think finding distractions, and I think if there's a message that we want to really send to all of our listeners, is that we get so embedded in what we do every day that if you don't extricate yourself and give yourself a mental break, what I like to call a cerebral enema, and clear all the crap that's in your head out, it just creates cerebral constipation, which makes it very hard for us to perform. So find something that clears your brain and allows you to reset. It's kind of like hit the any button and restart your brain so you have more room, defrag your brain, whatever we want to call it from that standpoint. But you have to do that to be able to opt to work at an optimal level. And I don't think we consciously do it. And so I think what really we're talking about today in terms of travel or working out or reading is taking care of number one so that you are able to perform at your highest and peak level from that standpoint.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of where we'll leave it today. You kind of wrapped it up really nicely, Peter. Thank you. Hmm.
It happens.
It does.
I think we should end with cerebral enema.
Yes, and you can leave us comments on how you get away and clear your own mind. So we look forward to hearing all of you. And so until later, we wish you adieu with the Royal Unfiltered Vet Discussion Wave and
Wave, Bill, wave.
Wave.
Bill was zoning out.
He
He is. He's done.
was.
He's done.
He's
And we will see
constipated.
you all next time on Unfiltered Vet Discussions. Thank you.